Hi guys, and welcome to the Sunderland vs Hull City match review. So Sunderland have just this second drawn 1-1 with Hull, who are currently second in the league. So I think in general, if you look at it as blatantly and as bluntly as that, I think it's a half decent result. We haven't been playing particularly well recently. To pick up a point against a side that are, for me, they're going up this year. In my opinion, I predict them to be in the top two come the end of the season. Whether it's first or second, I don't know, but I predict Hull to go up. I think they have the ability to play badly but still get away with points, still pick up wins here and there. Because like I said previously, I don't think they're a particularly great side in terms of playing well. I haven't been particularly impressed with them at all this season. But they have that ability to come away with 3 points. Sometimes in the most unlikely of games when they aren't playing well, as I say. But yeah, so if you look at it as bluntly as that, then yes, it's a decent point. But we'll get into the game. So we started with Lee Burge in goal as the back four. We had Sanderson and Bailey Wright in the middle. We had Conor McLaughlin on the right-hand side of defence. On the left, we had Callum McFadden returning to the lineup. As a midfield trio, we had Ledbetter just sitting in front of the back four, and then we had Scowen and Max Power. We had McGeady on one side, Jack Diamond on the right with Charlie Wyke up top. Now, getting into the game, and we started off awful. We were absolutely horrendous. We were gutless, soft as shit. They were just walking past us. You had Wilkes just walking past and just drifting past McLaughlin like he weren't even there. Diamond was losing the ball over and over and over again, trying the same thing, the same trick. And don't get me wrong, I think he was at times a bit unfairly treated. I think the ref must have been winding him up as well, because there was a good couple of times in that first half where he just got kicked 7 shades of shit out of, and the ref just ignored it a couple of times. Little things that weren't going his way where he'd try and knock it off the defender to go out for a throw-in, and a couple of times that did happen, and it was very blatant. Yeah, it was giving us a whole throw. Little things that it just weren't going Jack's way in that first half, and he was trying to take on his man, and his defender just had him in his pocket a lot of the time. Although, don't get me wrong, he did get away from his man just the once in the first half, which we'll come on to. So, firstly, the biggest problem for me was Tom Eaves. He was absolutely bullying Bailey Wright and Sanderson, both of them. They could not handle him. We had the same issue with Eaves when he was at Gillingham. He is, I've spoke with Hull fans and they aren't actually a big fan of him, but I love him because he's a nightmare to deal with. He is a target man. People say Charlie Wyke's a target man. No, he isn't. He isn't a target man at all. He's just a lazy 6-foot striker. That's it, and that's the average height. Target man for me is someone who's 6'3", 6'4", big brick shithouse who can bully defenders. Charlie Wyke doesn't do that. But either way, yeah, he was absolutely bullying them. Every ball that was getting put into the box, he was just beating them to the ball. His movement off the ball was great. He kept finding pockets of free space, free headers all over the shot, which, it just shows how poor our defending was. But all they had to do was lump balls into the box, and they were having chance after chance after chance because Eaves was winning everything. But eventually, a ball does get put into the box. Now, I'll have to explain something that happened prior to this, which is why this annoys me more. So early on in the game, a ball gets put down, gets put in behind our defence for Wilkes to chase. Burge goes down to ground to collect it. Wilkes accidentally, I don't think there was anything malicious about it, but he accidentally just nicks Burge, and he's cut the top of his eye. Now you can see straight away that it's quite a bad cut. Not terrible. I'm not going to go over dramatic about it, but it was clearly a relatively bad injury, and it was going to slowly but surely start to swell up. You can see the bruising immediately. And for a goalkeeper, the one thing you need is this little magic thing called vision. You need to be able to see. Do you know what I mean? So the reason I mention that is because for the goal, the ball gets put in from a set piece. Now it looks like it's going to go straight to Burge to claim it, right? So he does go out for it, but he's kind of allowed it to just hit him on sort of the top of his chest / shoulder, and then a fraction of a second later, a bit too late, his reactions, he goes to claim it like that when it's already bounced away. If you watch it on the replay, he actually goes to claim it a second after he's just let it hit him. Don't know whether that's his vision, but that's what I think. And he should have been brought off straight away, and Matthew should have been brought on. But anyway, he spills it straight to the Hull man. I think it was Burke, the defender, who got there and just lashed it in to make it 1-0. Burke should have come off. After that, 100% should have come off. For the majority of the rest of the half, it was relatively similar, but we did manage to break. We managed to break, and this was the one time where Diamond did actually do all right. Got down the right hand side, the ball was bouncing, and it looked like he was going to go out of play, but he's hooked it back across goal, and there is McGeady, of all players, to get the header, which you don't really normally associate with Haydn McGeady. Heads it back across goal. Keeper, I couldn't believe he didn't go for it. He just kind of let it go, and it's gone into the bottom corner. So it's 1-1, which is, of course, I was thankful for, because I thought this is going to be an absolute rout for Hull, because we looked that poor. And I think, I don't ever wish injuries upon anyone, but Eves did get injured, and that is what changed the game for me. Absolutely changed the game. He got injured, he brought him off, and if anything, it just made things even. That was it. It made things even. Because once he went off, Hull didn't look anywhere near as much of a threat. Of course, they still had Wilkes, who was coming off the flanks every now and then. He'd have a pop, but weren't really testing us too much. It was Eves that was getting the free headers. He's hit the bar at one point as well, Eves. Other than that, they weren't really testing us. McGuinness come on, and I can't remember him touching the ball, to be honest with you. In saying that, I can't remember White touching the ball. But the more infuriating thing was, and I say this every single review, and I think one of the main reasons we were playing so poorly and we looked so weak and so gutless and spineless is because, I'm not going to say it was because of Max Power, so hear me out, it's because that midfield trio, it has to all work as a team, and each player in that midfield trio need to offer something, they need to be productive. If one of them aren't productive or aren't getting involved, then that's it, then the cog just doesn't work. The machine doesn't work, and the whole thing is out of sync. And that's what was happening, because literally 25 minutes, half an hour in, I can't believe it happened, and it's happening in every single game now. I think, oh shit, yeah, Max Power's playing. Because I didn't see him once. Didn't see him, he didn't get involved. He's not getting his foot on the ball. And I think he touched the ball, I counted, I think it was 3 times in the opening 35 minutes. And every single time, he'd gone for a long ball or a short pass, that all of them went straight to a Hull City player. And that's what our captain provided in the middle of our midfield. So our midfield was completely redundant. We got the odd break here and there. Like I say, Diamond kept trying to do the same tricks, but he was losing it. And, I'm not saying, by the way, that Diamond is a bad player, because I don't think he's a bad player. Do I think his ability right now warrants the hype that he's got? No, I don't. I don't think he's better than Gooch. I don't think he's better than Maguire. I think he's got that raw pace and sort of direct ability, the direct running that we don't really have in the side. A little bit like Benji Kimpioka, he's a lot like that. Just run straight at the defence, and I do like that. But you need to be able to mix it up a bit, and he kept trying the same trick over and over again and losing the ball, and it was so frustrating, particularly when there was options, and he just takes a touch too many, a little bit like Gooch does at times. But either way, goes to half time, 1-1, and we could have easily been a good 2-3, 4-1 down, purely because he was winning everything in the air until he went off, and he was getting chances. But second half, finally we made changes, and the one change that really did piss me off was the keeper. Matthews comes on eventually, and all that did was show that he should have come off straight away, Burge. Why did he allow him? Why did Lee Johnson allow Lee Burge to play 45 minutes with one eye, which has gifted them a goal as well, and then only just then thinking, oh shit, yeah, keepers need to see, don't they? And then brings in a keeper. Do you know what I mean? That did piss me off. I'm not going to lie. That's the first time Lee Johnson's really pissed me off. And I just think that was stupid. It was really, really stupid. But he also made a move that strangely pleased me. In the end, anyway. So he brought off McLaughlin, our right back, because he was getting absolutely ripped to shreds by Wilkes half the time, and he was getting a bit wound up by Wilkes, having a bit of a tussle here and there, and Wilkes were getting the better of him. So he brought on Gooch, and he put Power at right back. So he put Max Power at right back, and the second you put in a productive player, what was I saying? And the second you put a productive player in that midfield trio, and they all start becoming productive, and they're all pushing in the same direction, because I think Scowen was all right in the first half. He was battling like mad, winning balls, getting involved, and Power was running around in circles, even if the ball is doing fuck all. So as soon as you put Gooch in there as well, Diamond's out on the right hand side and you're interchanging, it's so much more positive. And we started to control the game because everyone is contributing. We started to control the game, and it was a lot better in that second half. We were making chances, balls getting really nicely worked down to the bylines, fizzed across goal. Final ball, horrendous, don't get me wrong, but I was so much more pleased with that second half performance. I think we did have it under control. Towards the latter stages, Hull started to creep into it. A couple of times where I think we were caught sort of just not really concentrating. We had bodies piled forward because we were really going for it. We were throwing the kitchen sink at it, but we kept just hitting the first man with crosses, which was, again, infuriating. Something we're going to have to look at. But yeah, a couple of times they just went up the other end of the pitch and Wilkes would have it, and we could have like a last-ditch block or it'd go over the bar. But in general, that second half, we were miles better. And all it shows was, with power in that midfield trio, or anyone for that matter, who doesn't put a shift in, the whole team will go to shit because it's such a vital part. It's the most important third for me, the midfield, because that's where 99% of the game is played a lot of the time. So you need to have a foothold in that middle third to have any influence on the final third. And when power's in there, we don't have control of the middle third. But yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on it. Of course, Graham came on later on, as did Embleton. McGeady did come on, and that they were, some nice football from the likes of Maguire. Embleton had a few touches here and there, but didn't get involved too much. But I think it just screams out that we need another outlet that isn't just a target man. Because for me, Charlie White, yes, is out of all the strikers we have, and all our strikers are terrible, by the way. I'm not going to get away from that. Yes, I've give Charlie stick in the past, and yeah, he went through a phase where he did get a few goals, and he's the only one who has been scoring. He is the best of a bad bunch that we have got. But with Charlie, you can't deny that he's almost not an arrogant, but he just needs everything handed on a plate to him. Because one of the most frustrating things for me, particularly in the first half, was, well, and the second to be fair, all he did all game was just slowly walk around between the two Hull centre-backs, just walking from one to the other, just allowing them to mark him, not being being predictable, and just wandering around him. And the thing is, as a striker, yes, you can name yourself as a target man, but for me, that's just a cop-out for actually being a lazy twat, for me. Because there's so many times where that man could have busted a gut to come deep, because that is the job of a striker as well. If you're against the side where you're going to start sitting back, there's going to be periods of play where it's going to be permanently in your half, which it was for long periods, particularly in the first half, as I say, when Hull were really pressing us. The role of a centre forward, you have to come deep and make something happen. You can't just sit there and go, oh, well, they're not bringing it to me, so I'm not going to go get it off them. Move. You need to move and make an impact on the game. Do you know what I mean? I just think he's a lazy bastard. And if you look at most of his goals, they are, the 5-6 yards out. A goal's a goal. I get it. That's fine. That's if you're a poacher, I love that. But a poacher for me as well is another word for being a lazy prick. But but the thing is, and what I mean by that is, you need to have something else to your game. It's all well and good being a player that can find pockets of space and be in the right place at the right time. That's all well and good. But you have to have more to your game than just standing still and just hoping that the ball comes directly to your feet. Otherwise, you're not going to get involved. So we desperately need some more firepower up top. Someone, I think, a bit more technical ability and pace, which we keep crying out for. Charlie White is far from technical ability and pace, as we all know. But yeah, so at the end of the day, it's a point against second in the league. I will take it. I do think it's a slight missed opportunity, given that some of the results really did go our way, and we could have gone up, I think, as far as 7th today, and we would have looked really good, because then another win, we would have been in the top 4. But yeah, I think looking at this as an isolated result, I'd take a point. I think it's probably a fair result, given I think Hull dominated the first half whilst making really, really good chances, whilst the second, I feel like, no, we not necessarily dominated it, but we controlled it more, but we didn't really make any clear-cut chances. But yeah, so I'd take a point. So my man of the match for me, difficult one really. I think Sanderson did all right. Other than when Eves was on the pitch, I think Sanderson did all right, particularly in the second half. I think he really didn't allow a sniff for likes of McGuinness. Honeyman was trying to come forward, of course, and Wilkes and Sanderson was giving him nothing. But I also think Scowen did a lot of the dirty work today that no one would have noticed, particularly in the first half when things were looking really bleak, looking really shit. And he was doing all the dirty work that you're not really going to notice because you're so focused on Hull being a lot better than us. But yeah, I think I'll probably give it to Scowen, which might shock you, but I love a player that does all the dirty work. He does all the stuff that no one, brags about. But yeah, so you guys let me know what you thought of the game. down below on who was your man of the match. And if you have enjoyed this video, please hit the like button for me. It'd be massively, massively appreciated. And subscribe to the channel if you're not already to become a fully fledged member of the Sassy Army. But for now, you take care and stay jamming.